Good afternoon, then, Year 5, and welcome to today's English lesson. So, now, as you can see, first of all, I've put Thursday's date and Friday's date, and this is because this lesson is going to take over 2 days. So, you're going to start this today, today's English lesson, and you'll finish it in tomorrow's English lesson. I'll get to a little bit more detail about what you'll be doing and why I've split it over 2 lessons later on. First of all, what we're going to do is we're going to read the next chapter, the final chapter in the book now. So we're finally going to get to the end of Odysseus. So he's finally got home with his family, he's seen Penelope, he's happy again. What is going to happen next? Let's read it then. Chapter 14, the olive tree. When every last suitor was dead, Odysseus turned to his son. Telemachus, call the old woman, tell her to open the doors. Telemachus called to old Eurycella. She came hobbling to the threshold stone. She pulled back the bolts, and the doors of the feasting hall swung open. And there she was, she saw her king. He was standing like a mountain lion, surrounded by the bodies of his enemies. She let out a thin, shrill, cackling cry of triumph. She lifted up her skirts and came dancing into the hall. Odysseus raised a hand. Old woman, hold your tongue. It is an impious thing to exult and celebrate over the dead. Gloat in silence. Eurycella stood still and lowered her head. Old woman, Odysseus continued, fetch servants and maidservants with buckets, sponges, and water. Clean every speck of blood from this feasting hall. Telemachus, you and I will burn the bodies of the dead. Odysseus and Telemachus grabbed the corpses and the suitors by their ankles, dragged them across the hall and down the hill. They built a huge pyre and lit the funeral fire. All that day the heat of the fire's heart consumed the houses of bone. When all had been reduced to smouldering white ash, Odysseus and Telemachus climbed back up the hill. They entered the hall, and it was spotless. There was no trace or fleck or speck of blood. Odysseus called Eurycella. Old woman, he said, go upstairs and tell my wife Penelope that her husband is home and he is waiting for her. Eurycella nodded. She lifted her skirts and twinkled up the stairs to the bedchamber, as though she had forgotten all her years. Penelope was lying fast asleep on her bed. All day she had been sleeping, her heart heavy with sorrow. The old woman said, Madam, madam, wake up, wake up, wake up. Penelope sat up and rubbed her eyes. Madam, wake up, your husband is home. He is downstairs and he is waiting for you. Penelope looked at Eurycella and shook her head. Oh, woman, what are you talking about? Here has one of the mighty gods or goddesses addled your wits? Eurycella wrung her hands. For pity's sake, madam, come downstairs. Penelope climbed out of bed. She followed the old woman down the stairs. She saw there was a man standing in the feasting hall. She stood on the bottom step. She looked at him and said nothing. Telemachus said, Mother, strange, cold-hearted mother, your husband is home after 19 years, and you stand there and you say nothing. Odysseus turned to Telemachus. Leave us alone. He turned to his servants and his maidservants who were lined up along the walls watching. Leave us alone, now. As soon as the last one had left the room, Penelope walked across the hall. She looked into his face and said, Is it you? You are so changed. She reached and touched his cheek with her fingertips. I do not know you any longer. I do not even know that it is you. You are not the young man I remember sailing off to fight in the distant Troy all of those years ago, leaving me standing on the seashore with a baby in my arms. She turned away from him. I cannot sleep with you. I will not share a bed with you. I will tell the servants to move the bed. You can sleep on the other side of a closed door. Odysseus put his hand tenderly on her shoulder and whispered, Penelope, you know that cannot be. You know that I built this hall around an ancient olive tree. You know that I carved our bed with my own hands from one of the branches of that tree. You know that there is no one who can lift it and set it on the other side of a closed door. Suddenly, Penelope turned, her eyes shining with delight. She seized his hands. Then it is you! Then it is you! She cried. Nobody knows the secret of our bed. You and I alone. Odysseus looked into her face. She looked into his. Tears of joy were streaming down their cheeks. Suddenly, she was in his arms. Penelope, he said. Penelope, my wife, my queen. Only now am I truly home. That night, Odysseus, Penelope, and Telemachus sat down together in the feasting hall. With them, Odysseus's old father Laertes, the faithful swineherd Amos, and old Eurycella. Odysseus listened as each of them told the story of all that had happened on the island of Ithaca during his long absence. There were tears at the death of his mother, and there was laughter at Penelope's trick with the loom. There was anger at the outrages of the suitors, and gratitude at the interventions of owl-eyed Athene. When the stories had been told, Odysseus refilled his cup with wine and told of his adventures on the fields of Troy and his great journey across the broad face of the world. And then he filled his cup again and told of the one adventure still left to make, the one far inland to the place where the oar he was carrying over his shoulder would be mistaken for a winnowing fan. But Penelope put her arm over his shoulder and silenced his mouth with her kisses. Sweet Odysseus, she said, that will be as it may be, and as the mighty gods decree. But now you are here, in my arms, at home, in the place where all past and all future melt into present joy. And that there then is the end of the adventures of Odysseus. We've finally finished the book. Okay, so hopefully you all enjoyed that book. We will be moving on to a new one as of Monday, and you'll find out obviously more about that on Monday. So what I would like you to do today, and what you're also going to continue to do tomorrow as well, is you are going to then, over the next 2 English lessons, create the next chapter in this book. Okay, and you are going to base it off what was said on that final page in the book. Okay, so he says here that he still has one more adventure to make the journey far inland to the place where the oar he was carrying over his shoulder and would be mistaken for a winnowing fan. Okay, now the reason he believes this is because it was mentioned by Tiresias when he went to the land of the dead that this is what would happen to him. Okay, so what I've done, I've just added the extract of the book where it says all this. So I'm just going to read this page to you. Okay, so the Cyclops curse will pursue you relentlessly. This is Tiresias, by the way, talking to Odysseus about what will happen in his life. The Cyclops' curse would pursue you relentlessly. If ever you reach your homeland, it would be alone and unknown and under a strange sail, and there would be danger waiting where there should be a welcome. Okay, so all of that has already happened to Odysseus. If you overcome this danger, there is another journey you must make. You must put an oar on your shoulder and walk inland, leaving behind everyone, everything, everywhere you know. At last, you will reach a crossroads. There a man will stop you and gaze in wonder at the oar. He will ask you what it is, whether it is some kind of winnowing fan for separating the grain. This is a place where they do not know what an oar is because they do not know what the sea is. This is a place where you truly are nobody. In this place, you must plant the blade of the oar in the ground so that the shaft rises up towards the sky. Make a sacrifice to the great Poseidon of a ram, a bull, and a breeding boar. Then you have made your peace with him. If you can do all of these things, your death will come to you in old age from the sea in the veils of sleep like a long-awaited friend. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to create the next chapter in the book, and what you're going to do is you're going to write about this adventure that Odysseus goes on. Okay, so what I've done here, I've just put this same image that you've got on your screen here, and I've just put it onto this screen here, and I've zoomed it in a little bit so that you can read it and you can refer back to this when you're writing out your story and your plan for it. Okay, just I've zoomed it in a little bit because I know some of you struggle sometimes to see it. So what I've got here, this is how your chapter, your story is going to go. So you're going to start off with the beginning of your chapter, spending time with your wife Penelope. Remember, you're writing as if you are telling Odysseus' story. So spending time with Penelope, and you're going to make it all the way, this whole journey, to the end of your chapter, making peace with Poseidon. Okay, so what was spoken about at the end here. Okay, so make a sacrifice to great Poseidon of a ram, a bull, and a breeding boar, then you have made your peace with him. So that's where your chapter is going to end. Okay, but obviously on the way to that, you're not just going to, say, I left home, I walked inland with an oar, stuck it in the ground, made a sacrifice, and that was it. Okay, you're not going to say that, are you? Because remember, you're writing a whole chapter here. So in between your beginning and your end, you're going to have some different events that occur. So you're going to have the event of walking inland and planting the oar into the ground. You're going to have the event of meeting a man at the crossroads, and you're also going to have the event of him sacrificing a ram, a bull, and a breeding boar. All of these things are going to happen in your book. In your chapter that you're creating. Now, obviously, though, this won't fill up, like I've said already, the whole of this chapter. You need to add in some new events that you created yourself, that you've thought of yourself. Anything might happen. So perhaps you might think, okay, maybe, will it be straightforward, or would it contain more peril and adventure? Or perhaps maybe there will be an event involving any gods or monsters, okay? And I want you, so basically you're going to create a chapter starting when you're spending your time with Penelope, so basically where the last chapter ended. You're going to start there, and it's going to end with you making peace with Poseidon. And you've just got to, basically, you're writing a chapter describing what happens from the beginning until the end. Okay, so make sure you're including all the events that have been mentioned before, so all of these bits in red, and then create your own events to happen. Okay, so events with maybe gods or monsters, it's entirely up to you, but make it interesting, make it enjoyable, make it imaginative, because I don't want to be reading these long chapters and then be falling asleep halfway through. So make sure you're doing that for me. So the first thing that I want you to do is you're going to be making a plan. So you're going to be creating a plan. It can look anything however you want it to be. So it might be something like this. You might do like a little timeline and then just jot off arrows with different ideas of what's going to occur. You can do that. That's absolutely fine. You might want to do it like this. You've got a table and you just do bullet points. You've got your beginning, middle, and end, bullet points in each section. Don't mind. You don't have to do that. You can if you want to, or you can do it any way you want. But I want you to do a good, detailed plan. So you're including in your plan all the events that you are going to write about in your chapter. So make sure you include the start, the end, all the bits that are in red, and then whatever you want to include in between. Remember, this is a chapter, not just one, half a page of writing or a paragraph. You're doing a whole chapter here. Okay. Then what I want you to do then, so this will probably be tomorrow's work for you, is I want you to edit your work with your purple pen. Now, this is really an important part of your work, and I know it's really boring and you hate doing it, and I understand that, but you really have to do this. It is important. So firstly, check through your work for any punctuation or spelling mistakes. Maybe get a parent to help you if you need to. Use the dictionary as well to help you. Improve your work there. So run back over it with your purple pen, add in adjectives, to describe the nouns, make it a little bit more exciting. Create some noun phrases with those adjectives, and you can also add in some parentheses as well. Okay, so obviously we focus on that before half term. Try and add in some parentheses to make your writing a bit more exciting for me. Okay, so please make sure you do all of these corrections and additions in a purple color, because I want to see it all over your work. I want to see that you've actually edited your work. So just to reinforce what I want you to do, so you're going to make a plan, write your story, and edit it. And you've got today's English lesson and tomorrow's English lesson to do it. So you might want to today, I'd definitely get your plan done and finished. So you've come up with all your ideas of what you're going to write about. And then I would start off your chapter. Okay, so just get the idea of where you're going with it. And then in tomorrow's lesson, you need to finish off that chapter and edit all with your purple pen. If it comes to you might want to write out your whole story today. If you get it all done, that'd be brilliant. Okay, and then tomorrow's lesson, you can just come and edit it with your purple pen. Okay, but make sure you save some to do some work to do for tomorrow's lesson, and yeah, make sure you're not just rushing it and fitting it all into a short space. This is a whole chapter, remember. Okay, get in contact with me if you need any help. I will be here. I'm going to try and be on the live lesson link all day if I can tomorrow, so that I can help you with any questions that you might have. And just to let you know, this video will be for today and tomorrow's lesson. There won't be another video for tomorrow's lesson because it's exactly the same thing. So use this video for today's lesson and tomorrow's lesson. Make sure you go back over it. Use this part of the PowerPoint to help you. So you make sure you include all of the key events that have happened in your chapter. Okay, I hope that all makes sense to you then, Year 5. Get in contact with me if you need to, and I'll see you later on for our live lesson. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day.